So it's been 5 years now since I went through healing in my healing journey, or since I started it. And I wanted to share with you guys how I went from no confidence whatsoever, didn't know who I was, didn't love myself, walked around feeling empty all of the time, and like love was elusive to me. And again, like couldn't make decisions, didn't know that you're supposed to dive into your emotions, didn't know any of that stuff. And I feel like there's not enough discussion about healing from narcissistic abuse, especially if you've been raised in it. And I find people every single day that are struggling in their life, and their life is a mess, and they're in relationships that are a mess, and they don't understand why. And sometimes we just have to get to an extreme point in our lives where we realize that this is not working. And so I had been in fight or flight for so long, I could no longer digest my food. I got systemic candida, which happens to most of us. I had PTSD, which happens to all of us. And then you get, autoimmune issues, and you often will get some sort of disease and end up dying from that disease. And you have no clue that it was really the abuse that you went through that actually ended up killing you. So the first book that I used in my healing journey was Will It Ever Be Good Enough from Dr. Carol McBride. She recently published a new book called Will the Drama Ever End? That one includes men. I think that that's important because the first one I mentioned is really focused on women. Then the other books that I really harnessed was Peter Walker's Complex CPTSD from Striving to Thriving. And he's got a lot of really great tools in there, endless tools, endless lists of books, endless lists of managing flashbacks and understanding your trauma type and all of that. I found that going through Dr. Carol McBride's book first, getting the healing, then going back to his book and then understanding why things worked was a lot easier. Because if you go into his stuff first, you're going to get overwhelmed and not know how to fix it all. Where Dr. Carol McBride just brings you through some wonderful exercises and it ends up healing you. Okay, so then the other book I absolutely love is Who Dies? And that one is mentioned in Peter Walker's book. He suggested it, and that one really taught me how to be happy, how to process my emotions, how to live in the moment, and how really realizing that happiness is found in the moment. And I think that, I was always looking for some day when I would achieve X, Y, and Z, or reach some sort of place where I was actually going to finally be happy and fulfilled. And when we do that, we're running after a mirage, because the only thing you're ever going to have is today, this moment. You're always going to be living in a moment. And a lot of times when we've gone through all this trauma, we'll be living in our head. And I always say, if you're in your head, you're dead. Right? Because you're not living in reality. And some of the exercises that I've done that have really helped me have been dunking my face in ice water, ice showers, doing Wim Hof's breathing, using his breathing app, Tony Robbins priming, which has I've used to rewire my brain. It has all the components in it, from a neuroplasticity, type of perspective, to rewire your brain from focusing on trauma to focusing on the right things, the positive things in life, and gets you to start to dream and think about the possibilities, all of that. And then those are my main things that I do. And the other thing is taking time to process trauma. So every time you get triggered, which in the beginning is like all the time, but anytime you get triggered, instead of taking it out on the people that trigger you, although unless they're narcissists, you want to get away as far away as possible. But if, other little things can trigger you, it doesn't have to be like a toxic situation. And if that happens, you've got to ask yourself what you're flashing back to, so that you can sit in those emotions and those feelings and process them. Because at the time when that happened to you, obviously you were not ready to process those emotions. So that kind of happened to me the other day, where I got triggered in my work, and I realized I was flashing back to my sister selling everything that was valuable. She used to go into my room, find anything that I thought that was valuable, and she'd wrap it up in gift wrap and give it away as gifts. And so I had a huge sticker collection that she did that with, and for some reason that was coming back to me over and over again of her like selling my stuff. And so it's also important to resolve those things, to replace those things as an adult. And sometimes it feels like you're being a child, like I'm buying myself like a sticker book. Well, the thing is that, yeah, you're actually restoring your childhood, right? So magically you give yourself the things that you lost and replace those things, and then it's no longer an issue. It brings a close to some of those things. So you do have to kind of go back into your childhood and into the child part of you that it still exists today, and give that child what they need to resolve those things. So these are some of my top tips. Thank you for subscribing to my YouTube channel, and I will continue to share my journey with you and where I'm at, but I just wanted to give you some of the resources that have helped me along the way. So guys, again, thanks so much for subscribing to my YouTube, and we'll see you in the next video.